at last at The Secrets of Dumbledore. So, I'm coming at this one late, obviously. I chose not to see this one in the theater for a variety of reasons, which I'm sure most people can already guess at the backstage issues of some of the creative talents involved. Not only do I find personally distasteful, but prove harmful to people who are very close to me. And I did not feel comfortable giving money to a movie theater, even though I highly support going back to the movie theaters and trying to get them back on their feet after the pandemic. But this is one where I just could not do that, knowing that a portion of my money was going to be going to people who are actively trying to hurt people I care about. I just could not morally, I could not do that. So I conferred with some of the folks in that community, kind of getting their opinion on what the best course of action was, and their opinion, the general consensus was, check it out on streaming. You're already giving HBO Max your money, so, it's not like I'm sure she's still profiting from it in some way, shape, or form, but it's not as egregious. So that's what I did, and today was the day it was made available, and yeah, I knew that this movie was going to be a disappointment. I knew that going in. What I was looking to see was what level of disappointment it was going to be. And it's funny how you can prepare yourself for disappointment. You can know that it's coming, but sometimes certain things are so disappointing that it's still shocking. And in some cases, kind of amazing how how disappointing things can be. So there's a lot to unpack here, and we're going to try to get to it all. I'm not going to be able to cover everything, but let's talk about the Secrets of Dumbledore, the primary one being that the movie is pretty terrible. Well, I guess I should rephrase that, because it's not a terrible movie, especially in comparison to the other members of its own franchise. That is something that's been interesting to see with the Fantastic Beasts wing of the Wizarding World films, is that they are all terrible in their own unique ways. The first one was interesting enough, if unoriginal in its characterizations and bogged down with trying to tie itself to a larger narrative. So I would say being unfocused, was the greatest crime of that film. The second one was just went all in with the world building and the hidden secrets and all of this tying back to larger prophecies and larger things and larger drama, that it forgot to have anything remotely resembling a plot or character arcs or anything interesting happen, and is probably one of the worst offenders of stupid retconning of just about any major franchise that has done prequels has been. You can cry and moan about midichlorians all you want, but for me, making Voldemort's snake really a human who transformed into a snake and all that other shit, that was way worse than any of that. So that one was just up its own ass with its mythology. And this one adds a new flavor to the stew. Gutless compromise and utter dullness. This is such a boring film. It is so dull to get through. When I say gutless compromise, I think the closest thing I can compare this to is The Rise of Skywalker from a few years ago. A movie that, and I don't care what anybody says, you cannot convince me otherwise, that film's greatest flaw was that it listened to the whining fanboys who were all butthurt about perceived changes to what they felt the mythology should be, that they went back and tried to retcon everything and fix everything, even though the Last Jedi did not do anything that needed fixing. And what you get is this mess of a film that feels like everything is tacked on, last minute, changes made to characters and their backstories and their fates and all of this nonsense. So the whole film just feels completely compromised. And that's definitely what this one feels like. Now, let me go on record as saying I in no way, shape, or form wanted to sit through 7 of these Fantastic Beasts movies. So it's very clear that their original plan to do 7 movies, they have completely hacked that and said, we need to wrap this up and make it a self-contained film, because we're not going to keep an audience around for more of these. We got to wrap this story up, make it a trilogy. And I think that's a good move, because yeah, nobody wants more of these. This is the Harry Potter movie that even hardcore Harry Potter fans are saying, this is terrible. So nobody really wants this. And the Crimes of Grindelwald were in that same camp. I saw a couple diehards who were still trying to defend it, but for the most part, people were saying, no more of this. So what was clearly meant to be a long-running series that would take several films to get to these inevitable conclusions are now being condensed and rewritten on the fly. They're chucking a lot of the stuff that they felt didn't work and trying to just streamline it to Wizard Avengers fight evil guy. That's kind of what we're getting. Okay, that's fair. The problem is that any storyline or any story thread that was connecting all these films has completely been chucked. So there's no real connective tissue. There's no real point of view character. They're still trying to feel like Newt Scamander is this really important everyman who's through eyes we're seeing all of this unfold, and it never works. He's no more a main character in this one than any of the others. In fact, I would almost say he's kind of less. Jude Law's Dumbledore stands up to take on the role. This thing is going to flip again. I'm sorry, folks. Is taking on the role as kind of our main character, which maybe is what it should have been from the beginning. But once again, they stick to the stupid retcons that they made in the Crimes of Grindelwald. Hey, remember how when we found out about Dumbledore's backstory in the Deathly Hallows, it was interesting character work that made him mortal, that gave him flaws and humanized him? Well, that's out the window, and we're really sticking with the whole reason he's not directly going after Grindelwald is because of magical blood talisman. So all that stuff that keeps him and makes him an interesting and a conflicted character, that's gone. So he now has to play this elaborate game of chess with all of these other players in an attempt to stop Mads Mikkelsen's Grindelwald from taking over the wizarding world via underhanded political shenanigans involving a magical deer. I'm not making any of that up, though it sounds like something I could make up if I was having a fever dream. So he gathers together a crew of uninteresting characters from the last 2 movies, with the exception of Jacob, the only redeeming factor in the entire series. And even he is given nothing really to do, and they tease all the stuff in the commercials about him getting a wand, and so we're going to see Jacob with a wand. Yeah, he doesn't do shit with it. That's the one thing they keep consistent with the rules of the Wizarding World, that Muggles can't do magic. That's the one thing that, even if they have a wand, it's the one thing they choose to stick with. Everything else, they totally say, well, fuck that. We're just rewriting the rule book as we go. I'm sorry, this thing is really easing down on me today. Everything else they say, fuck that, as the script needs it, we will adapt it. So, so he sends all of his little chess pieces, again, consisting of the dull characters from the last movies and one new character for this one who is also dull and uninteresting, to go do dull and uninteresting things to try to stop Grindelwald from rigging the wizarding election. Because, you know, if there's one thing that Harry Potter fans truly love, it's not the whimsy, it's not the magic, it's not the exciting, beautiful world of possibilities and adventure. It's geopolitical wizard politics. Give us more of that. This again, kind of like I think what the other two films tried to do, is they tried to take the world of Harry Potter, which was given one specific point of view, that of a child. So seeing everything from a school perspective. And they're trying to expand on that world and show just how expansive and large the wizarding world really is, as opposed to just kind of the glimpses we get in it throughout the various Harry Potter adventures. But the problem with that is that the more they try to expand on this world and the more they try to make it feel big and, you know, massive, the smaller and less interesting it gets. This is the most uninteresting view of the wizarding world we've ever had. There's nothing ooh and ah inspiring about it like we kind of get with like the Quidditch World Cup or our first view of the Ministry of Magic. We don't get any of that. It's all just huge and bland, and you know, David Yates, I think he did a great job with the Harry Potter films he helmed. He did an excellent job of grounding the world, making it feel real and tangible, especially as he took on the later films in the series when the wizarding world was becoming a darker, more dangerous place. I really enjoyed the Harry Potter films he directed, but the problem with these Fantastic Beasts movies, and this one in particular, is, God, they are so washed out and flat. The color palette, even when there are bright colors, they seem muted and just dull, and the wizarding world does not look like a place you want to be in. You know, it doesn't look like a warm, inviting place that you want to go and spend adventures in. So yeah, the world doesn't feel like a place you want to be in. There's nothing whimsical or magical or amazing about it to kind of keep your interest. It's all just dull, boring people and, you know, pompous outfits. Like I say, it's a geopolitical film. Is that what Harry Potter films, fans wanted? I just... Never has a Harry Potter or Harry Potter adjacent movie felt so un-Harry Potter. There's nothing in this that makes you go, ooh, ah, ooh, you know. Seriously, I'm sitting here trying to think of something to talk about that was interesting or fun or engaging, and it's just not there, folks. The whole franchise feels tired and bloated and just so ready, as everything they introduced that could have been interesting is just completely sidelined. You know, even Jacob and Queenie, who do kind of get their reconciliation and they get the happy ending that we as the fans kind of want for them, it's still just kind of blown off. Oh, you can just turn back from siding with, you know, Wizard Hitler. Okay, great. Or I guess he's supposed to be Wizard Trump, I think is what he's supposed to be now. They've taken it from Voldemort being Wizard Hitler to Grindelwald kind of being Wizard Trump. You know? Which is I think that's what they're going with. I will say that Mads Mikkelsen is a step up from Johnny Depp. And we're not even going to go into the background of what all's going on with Johnny Depp, but, you know, he's definitely a better actor, and he's definitely better at roles like this. But even now, he's given nothing to do. Grindelwald is an incredibly boring, flat character with no real new motivations, nothing that separates him from Voldemort. And Voldemort was just better. You know? God. And again, everything is just tied up quickly. You know how Ezra Miller was the whole centerpiece of the first two films? Just kind of finish out his story quickly. Oh, by the way, the secret of Dumbledore is, turns out it's not Albus Dumbledore, it's Aberforth Dumbledore, who is Ezra Miller's father. Because apparently he got someone knocked up when he was a teenager. Funny, they kind of brush over that little thing, you know. Wizard teen pregnancy. But anyway, but we don't have to worry about any of that because he's really dying this whole time. You know, so again, just written off so quickly and callously. Eddie Redmayne is back doing his poor man's Matt Smith as the Doctor imitation, and it's just as stupid as it was before. They're still trying to convince us that there's some kind of love triangle between him, Tina, who only shows up in a cameo basically at the end, and his assistant, Bertie, I think her name is, who had very few lines in the second one. Again, I assume this is a character dynamic that was supposed to be strung out over multiple films, but they're saying, fuck that, we gotta wrap this up. So yeah, she's always been in love with him and obsessed with him, and everything she does is for love. Yeah. Okay, so here's what's funny, and not funny like on purpose, but funny, you know, just why did they do this? So they introduce us to a new character, who's supposedly the charms teacher at Hogwarts prior to Flitwick. She's given no personality, except she's, you know, really good at charms and magic. No real stake in anything. Why is she here? Why wouldn't McGonagall be filling out this role? Since they introduced the young McGonagall, but they don't use her. And she's just there to basically be our Deus Ex Machina, get us out of trouble. And she's so great at magic that, you know, she can do that. When she's introduced, she goes to recruit Jacob and feels the need to recount his entire backstory to us. Why? He is the most interesting and fun character in any of these movies. The only thing that makes any of them even remotely redeemable. Of all the characters that they bring back, he's the one we needed reminding of the least as to who he was and what he was doing here. Everybody else, you know, they introduce you like, wait, who are you? Oh yeah, you're Scamander's dull and ineffectual brother, whom apparently they've decided that's the primary relationship. You know, him and Newt are, you know, the Scamander brothers are the really important ones, which is, they are not. Yeah. I keep going around in circles. I'm just saying the same things over and over again. This movie is boring. The characters are boring. The outcome is boring. The world is boring. The magic is boring. It's boring, and I am glad that they made the decision they did to kind of wrap this up and let it go. You know, I understand, Warner Brothers. I understand that you are desperately searching for another Harry Potter franchise to fill out your ledgers, especially seeing as your DC film universe has been the worst possible failures at the worst of times, and at best has been mediocre. So, and definitely hitching your star to the Ezra Miller horse was not the smartest choice in the world, but who can foresee that? I get it. And no one really saw JK's heel turn coming. That was kind of out of nowhere. So I understand you feel like you've been blindsided. But the time has come to kind of pull the plug on this. If there are to be new adventures in the wizarding world, I think what's going to have to happen is it's going to have to be handed over to a new creative team, and they're going to have to start taking it from back to its roots and taking it from a young person's perspective. That's how many people fell in love with Harry Potter. That's how many people came to the world of Harry Potter, was as kids. And as such, that's the point of view where it should be explored. So I don't know what the next step is, and I don't know how you kind of dig yourself out of the hole. A lot of things are going to have to happen outside of your control, but the simple fact of the matter is, as bad as this movie was, as bad as this entire series was, you made the right choice in canning it and saying we're going to move on and try to get our feet under us again, because this film is it's a wet noodle. It is a wet noodle of a movie. I can't talk about it anymore. I just can't. So let's wrap this up. So final grade for Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore. I'm going a D-. The only reason it doesn't get an F is that David Yates is a good enough director that it's a well-made movie. It's not incompetent in terms of, its camera work or anything like that. I did like Mads Mikkelsen as Grindelwald, though he didn't get to do much, and Jacob is always good for a couple of bonus points in your favor. But that is it. Those are mercy points that keep this from being an abject, complete, and total failure, along with recognizing that a lot of the bad moves made in this film were due to trying to overcorrect for situations outside of your control. So I give some mercy points, but folks, do not be fooled by that grade. This film is a waste of time. This series is a waste of time. The only thing good about it is I got to see my good friend Eric Hayden on the big screen once. So other than that, you don't need me to tell you this series doesn't deserve your time or energy, so don't give it to it. So there you go. There it is, and let's hope the wizarding world is put to rest for a little bit. Okay, so again, we're getting towards those summer months. I'm getting ready to head out on another summer adventure, globe trotting and seeing all the people I love. So these reviews are going to be kind of sparse and few and far between for a little while, but they will return, and they will return with guest hosts and return of my beautiful co-host who will occupy the chair where the film crew sits, and I'm looking forward to all of that. So thank you for coming along with me. Thank you for joining me, and as always, drive safe, and I will see you at the movies.